Hey everybody, this is Elle Nagy from the Direction You Empowerment Dynasty, and you're listening to the Unapologetic Woman Podcast, the show for female leaders who love to live their legacies unleashed, unlimited, and unafraid. If this is a community you would like to be a part of, visit directionu.co/unapologetic. Today we're talking about motherhood and intentionality with Monique Russell. Monique is a global communication skills expert dedicated to teaching women leaders and teams how to increase their visibility for more opportunity with public speaking and emotional intelligence. She's an author, podcast host, mother, wife, and all-around wonderful human being. Organizations like the CDC, Google, Amazon, and the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson International, trust Monique to help them foster courageous and connection at home and work. You can too. She runs a global international communications firm called Clear Communication Solutions, LLC. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Monique Russell.
Intentional motherhood. Who said it would be easy?
They lied. Okay, so let's get started. It took me a while to get up the courage to reach out to you to go, would you be on my podcast and come play with me? Because I admire you so greatly, Monique. I have so much respect for you. You always show up with grace, confidence, compassion, power, certainty, professionalism. I could go on and on and on. I do have a bit of a girl crush on you. And when you said yes, I was like, oh my God, Monique gets to come on my show. So thank you for being here, first of all. And you have many powerful stories, but let me ask you this first. What does it mean for you to be an unapologetic woman?
Well, first I have to say thank you for all those kind words, because I think the feeling is mutual. From the moment I saw you in the internet streets, I was like, who is this woman showing up like Queen? I am here. Okay. So, I think that's how we really, our energies connected first. And so I'm just happy that we are here chatting it up. So, okay, unapologetic. Unapologetic for me means that I am not making foggy decisions. That's what it means. So I'm not making decisions out of fear, obligation, or guilt. And that means that I'm choosing to show up in a way that I don't have to fake it. I don't have to pretend that I truly desire connection or friendship or love. I'm choosing to show up and keep my heart open and vulnerable, even though it may be susceptible to, things that I don't want happening with my heart. And so unapologetic means that I'm not just going along to get along. I'm making decisions, and those decisions are being done with intention.
That is probably one of the most powerful definitions of unapologetic that we've had on the show. And I love the gumption, the ballsiness of saying that it's about my decisions, because that brings such a sense of responsibility to the table. It's not about just showing up. It's about, I decide first intentionally about what it is that I'm creating in life, and then showing up unapologetically from that space. That is powerful.
Thank you.
What life does one have to live to come to that definition of being an unapologetic woman? Can you share a little bit with us?
Yes. I mean, you have to have had the experience of not being intentional. You've had to have the experience of making decisions out of fear and obligation and guilt. when I left the beautiful islands of the Bahamas, I would say I was Miss Unapologetic. I was creative. I was Miss Confidence. I could win any confidence contest if you put me anywhere in the world. That's how I felt. And I left when I was 17. My mom didn't accompany me. She waved goodbye to me at the airport, and I was off to a whole new country here in the United States on my own, by myself, ready to conquer the world. And I did. I did. And shortly after I had my first son, I was a teenage mom. And most people would think that, oh, things were just going to fall down and I'm going to crumble and be a statistic just because I had a kid. But I will tell you, Elle, those were some of the best years of my life. It wasn't until I finished school, got married, had my second child, didn't land my quote unquote dream job, faced one too many hurdles, confidence started shaking, that I found myself in a place where I was like, what? I mean, I was still achieving and accomplishing goals, but deep down inside there was this feeling like, my confidence wasn't fully where it was when I left the island. And then I felt like, wow, I went to school for all this education. I spent all this money. I'm not in the career that I wanted to be in. I really was trying to connect and fit into different places and spaces. And finally, I said, this isn't really what I want to be doing. I connected up with a women's organization called WATS, Women Aspiring Together to Succeed. That was the door for me to do vision boarding. I always wrote goals, wrote them down. But this group of women introduced me to setting goals visually with pictures. And, it was a whole bunch of other things going on in there. And most of them were, my elders. And so I was learning from so much wisdom. And then I observed a lot when I was in the corporate space, helping executives and seeing, who was gravitating to whom and, how they finessed people on the front end. And I got to see things on the back end. And I realized that there were a lot of tools like coaching and counseling that they were using to maximize their performance. And right then and there, I didn't feel like, oh, okay, this is my practicum and training. I had to go through a whole lot of, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I don't want to be in this space. This isn't what I went to school for. I don't feel like I'm using my creative genius. I had to go through that before I connected up with a friend who he sat me down, and in one of our conversations, he said, you have access to something that many people don't have access to. Like, you get to actually see behind the scenes of how leaders in these Fortune companies work. They trust you with their secrets and ideas. And, you get to see them in the front facing and the back facing. It's like you're actually being paid to learn. And so with that suggestion, that seed that he planted, I started to say, okay, well, they're executives. I'm executive too. Whatever they get, I'm going to get too. So I got my own coaches, I got my own counselors, and that journey opened me up. It expanded my awareness. And I started down this path of wanting to learn more about myself, learn more about my family. I looked around at the women in my family, and I saw a lot of women who settled, who chose to settle. I couldn't find really great examples of women that I felt were living fully expressed for whatever reason. Some of them through no fault of their own. And I learned more about my dad's side. My dad is from Nigeria, and I met him at the age of 8. So to get to where I am today, it required me to go through sort of a self-discovery, and it required me to learn so much more about my history and identify patterns. So patterns on my mom's side, patterns on my dad's side, and kind of see how those patterns were influencing some of the decisions that I made or beliefs that I held, and how they were showing up. But it took a long time for me to get to that point to be able to say, hey, no, I don't want to be walking around here feeling like I need to people please, or tone it down and dial it up and be like this little puppet to fit in. No, I have a communications background. I did all the training and the studies. I need to put that into practice, and I need to put the coaching and the counseling into practice and still show up and be able to navigate those spaces, but in a way that felt authentic to me. So that's pretty much what I had to experience, this self-discovery, which is still ongoing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're not dead yet, so we're not done yet. I keep saying that to people, and it's about choosing unapologetic again and again and again, even as we grow through life. And we do have the cycles of being on top of the world and feeling so confident in everything that we're doing, and then going to the next level and feeling like an infant again and having to rediscover what got us there and what will get us to the next level of unapologetic as women, especially, and understanding. One of the things that you said that really stood out for me is the seed was planted, and yet the seed can be planted and gets planted so often, and then people don't have the courage to water it and allow it to bloom and blossom and grow. What was it about that seed that made you go, "Ooh, no, this one gets to grow, this one gets to be nurtured"?
Yeah, because I think we get to a point where the desire, well, not we, but for me, the desire that I had for living more and to being more of who I am, that was greater than anything else that I wanted. So I just didn't want to be playing the shrinky. I was like, come on, I'm not a shrinky person. I am a beautiful human, powerful human. Like, Monique, what's going on? Like, no. So I think the part of that seed nurturing and watering was the fact that I had a lot of other influences and seeds happening through the community that I was connected to, through the coaching and the counseling that I was experiencing. But because the desire within me was so strong, it was almost like the soil was very fertile. And when the seed was dropped into the soil, it was ready for germination.
Yes. Desire always comes at the right time. And I always say to people, you have to trust the desire. It doesn't make sense, logical sense. Desire never makes logical sense. Desire never, for me personally, is never a case of, oh yeah, I'm going to create a 5-year vision because I know what I'm going to desire in 5 years. My most potent life experience comes always at the most unexpected moments of just kind of going, oh yeah, I want that. Like now, I don't want to wait 5 years for it. Like in the moment that I see the desire, I have a belief. In the moment that I see the desire, I'm ready to receive the desire. I just need to find my way to being the person who already has the desire. It's never a 5-year thing. I don't think I have the patience for that, quite frankly. So why would my soul give me desires and say, in 5 years from now, this is what it's going to be like? No, bitch. Desire happens now for a reason. And yes, it always takes me to do things that other people call crazy and saying yes to the insane, because I believe I'm possible. And when I believe I'm possible, the desire, of course, gets to have a hell yes to that. And it's also about not saying yes to the, like, yeah, it would be cool kind of things. It is, we read about the burning desire in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think a lot of people have forgotten what burning desire feels like. And saying yes to the burning desire, and then let the fire, the passion for the desire burn the boats, kind of thing. Motherhood has clearly played a huge role in this journey of yours. Can we bring a little bit, because there's a lot of mothers out there listening to the podcast today at various stages. Like my boys are all grown as now, 22 and 20, but I'm still a mother at heart, and they're still part of my inspiration. But there's a lot of mothers listening to this podcast. Can you maybe shed a bit of a light of how your journey of motherhood has impacted your journey as a woman, as a woman itself, as a businesswoman, as a wife, and how that little thread is still being woven into the tapestry today?
Ooh, heavy, heavy. Okay, so listen, my journey of motherhood, how does it impact me today, or how has it woven throughout? I will say what I want to accomplish for myself is greatly connected to me being a mother. And it's because I want to be a living demonstration, an example for my children. Because when I went through my journey, I look back at my family members, I look back at history, I look back at decisions, I look back at patterns, and I wanted and have done and am doing disruption in some of the patterns that have been prevalent in my family structure. So the motherhood piece of who I am as a woman is extremely critical and important. And when I first got pregnant with my first son, I remember that journey, and I remember being filled with joy. I was not, I wasn't a big rich person. I was materially poor, but I was very wealthy because I was so excited to be accomplishing all the things that I wanted to accomplish while still being a mom. And my book, Intentional Motherhood, Who Said It Would Be Easy, it chronicles that whole piece, because it's like sometimes, I think a lot of times as moms, we get into this space of letting the motherhood role take over the identity of who we are. And when that happens, it's because there's no intention. That's why I say intentional motherhood. We set an intention for our business, for our family, for vacation, for where the kid's gonna go to school, what we gonna eat, what we gonna wear. But when it comes to motherhood, it's just like this reaction, this reactive stance, and then everything still goes on as normal, business as usual, but it's not business as usual. And so when you can't keep up, you feel like you're failing, or you feel like, oh my God, everybody can do it but me. I have to choose one or the other. I can't do both. And with the intention, it's like stepping back and redefining what success as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, what does that mean for you? So everything that I do, and I never really actually brought my role of being a mom into my business branding or what I talked about. My oldest son is 22, my youngest is 16, two boys. And it was only recently that I decided, because this book came out not even 2 years ago, that I decided I wanted to leave a legacy. I wanted my grandchildren, great grandchildren, whomever, especially the women, to see a different viewpoint, a different thinking model of someone in their family, of what they truly felt like, because I wish I could have had some of those conversations with my grandmother to figure out, what did you truly feel? Like, did you truly feel that this is what you wanted? In some cases, they had to choose the role, they had to settle, but we don't have to. We're living in different times, we're living in different opportunities. We can decide to be different in how we show up. And I really, really want mothers to be able to profit from their own wisdom, because then it empowers us to choose better when we show up, and to be unapologetic in relationship. We're not waiting for somebody to come and rescue and save. And, I have to downplay who I am because I'm being taken care of and supported by somebody. I don't have to say, okay, I have a different viewpoint of raising my children because there's someone else that I can't get along with, or we don't share the same viewpoint. When a woman, a mother, oh my God, when a mother can really profit from her own wisdom, it just impacts the way she shows up.
Can I challenge a bit of your language? Uh,
Yes.
because you said you wanted to leave a legacy, and I say we it's time for us to live our legacies. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not leaving a legacy, you're living a legacy, because you are living the wisdom, you are living the new patterns. And for me, it's about not putting things away from us anymore and go, well, this is for future generations. It's like, no, 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 no. Whatever we are living, the frequency that we are living on is the legacy. And it happens in the moment. And it comes back to your sense of self-responsibility, which is exactly how this conversation started. You are the embodiment of living a legacy, not leaving a legacy.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, so
Yes.
beautiful. I struggled with motherhood. I will confess, I was never planning on being a mother, first of all. I never felt that I was the typical mother, or what a mother should look like, should sound like, should feel like. I didn't feel maternal. I never went goo goo gaga over babies. Um, and I used my business for a long time as an escape from being a mother. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that as well, and to forgive myself. I had suicidal depression when my kids were babies, and I still play out in my mind the times when I was not in charge of myself, and the expressions on my kids' faces. There was an instance, and I'm probably oversharing here, but when my kids were very, very little, and something inside of me snapped. And I can't remember what happened, but I remembered screaming. And my oldest, who was probably about 3.5 at the time, taking his baby brother's hand and go, come, brother, mommy is just a bit crazy at the moment. And he just very gently removed him from the room. And that was huge for me. That was a huge moment in understanding that I had to choose to be a mother. Motherhood didn't come easily for me. And as I hear you talk about intentional motherhood and being the mother, do you feel that there is, oh, let's go a little airy fairy here, there is a mother consciousness that we get to tap into as women, and being the mother, not just having children? But do you believe that there is a consciousness that women can start sensing into? And it's part of being intentional, right? About being intentional in motherhood. Can you speak into that for us a little bit?
Absolutely. And first, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing, what your um children observed. And also, like, we're not we're not designed to be perfect, right? We're not supposed to be, or we're not striving for perfection. So I truly believe that our children, they get to experience all of who we are and what we're going through and what we're facing. And the beautiful blessing is when they get to see and watch the evolution. So they may see us screaming, and they may see us, like, being not our best, higher version of ourselves. And they also get to see how we are embracing that part of us and what we're doing to develop ourselves and better ourselves. And I think that's the missing piece that a lot of moms struggle with. It's like, I don't want my kids to see me in this way. So you hide and you suffer, or you set up, it's almost this not an unapologetic, it's a cloak or a mask or a facade that my kids can't see this. But then that sets them up. It's a disservice, because now they're being brainwashed to see that, oh, mom never had a bad day. And when I get to have a bad day, I want to be like my mom. My mom never had a bad day. So I just want to just put that out there. And to also go right into your question around the consciousness. So chapter 2 in my book is it's not about age, it's about identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also throw in there, because I've been speaking about this too, it's not about biology, it's about identity. So being a mother doesn't mean that you have to physically birth a mother. And I talk about in my book the women who came into my life who were mothers. They didn't birth me, but they stepped into that motherhood role, that identity of a mom, by maybe showing me, a certain path, by welcoming me, like my stepmother, one of my dad's former girlfriends, one of my aunts. There were women who didn't have any biological connection to me whatsoever that stepped into the role of motherhood. Being a mother is about that nurturing aspect of identity. So yes, I do believe it's a level of consciousness, and awareness that comes into being intentional as a mom.
I love how you talk about it's not about us being perfect in front of our children. And one of the things that I've come to understand is that if we start tapping into the frequency of truth versus the frequency of lies, when we are hiding these things from our kids and stuff, we actually set a frequency of lies in the household, and then wondering why kids lie. Well, because we're teaching them how to lie, not coming from it's not even a conscious decision that most people are making, or an aware decision that most people are making. We can't tell little white lies and think it's okay, because you're either vibrating on truth or you're vibrating on lies. And being okay with the truth. And sometimes the truth is messy and it's nasty and it doesn't smell good. And it's okay. We're having a human experience. And quite frankly, if you never, excuse the French, if you never take a shit, you're constipated, right? So it has to come out sometimes, and it has to be smelly and messy and uncomfortable and a little embarrassing, and it's all good. I think you've just given moms such a huge permission slip, quite frankly, to be okay in the mess. And thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't think that we give that enough to mothers today. There's such a high standard that's being held, especially at the moment when so many mothers are being encouraged to start up their own businesses and to leave corporate. And I'm going to say respectfully, it's not as easy as what people are told it is.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
More time with your kids is not always realistic. I had to work way more hours starting my own businesses than in corporate. Yes, you get to do it at weird times when the kids are sleeping. But I remember my first business, my second business, which was in recruitment when I had my babies. I had to get up at 2:00 in the morning to get work done before they got up at 6. It's not pretty. How do you bring the mother persona into the business world for yourself and with your clients as well?
Okay, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so juicy questions. So it's everything, because it is an identity, right? So when I am in my business, I am showing up as that caring, as that nurturing mom. My success goals, I think before we started recording, we talked about like redefining success. So for me, when it comes to my business, I have goals that are not just the tangible metric goals for the business, but I have those goals for myself as well, daily. Okay, daily. Like, what are you doing for yourself today? Before I start my day, I have to kind of like get into my own space. I have tons of journals that I am in constant conversation and dialogue with myself. in terms of examining my thoughts, my feelings. Ooh, how did I feel after I had that conversation? Ooh, I didn't feel like I showed up the way I should have. Ooh, that was great. I felt so strong because guess what? I said, this isn't working for me. So examining the decisions and the thoughts is something that I embody. And because I embody it, it makes it easier for me to demonstrate it for my clients. It makes it easier for me to give them permission. So when they have come from places and content and messaging and programming that says, team no sleep, or you got to go, 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 and that hustle of nonstop, and you only having a hobby. Well, guess what? Sometimes you're gonna have a hobby. Yeah, sometimes you're going to, and other times you're going to be in a different state. Like, the business is connected to the cycles and the seasons in nature. And I think once we understand that everything that we're doing also has a season and a system and a process, we have to understand if we are in winter, if we're in spring, if we're in summer, which season are we in, so that we're not setting ourselves up to fail or to feel like failures, which is not always easy. Hello, speaking from experience. But we have to understand that there are seasons in our lives and our business. And for example, if you're in a season where your health is being challenged, like I had experience like that, you're not going to be in that same mode of go, 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 because what is the point? What's the point of it if you can't enjoy it in a good physical state? And then the physical part of it influences how you connect with the people that you're reaching out to. It influences how you're servicing them. I remember a moment where I wasn't feeling my best, but I was still moving and taking actions. And then I had to realize, I talked to a friend, I was talking to my mom, and both of them mentioned the same thing. And I was like, oh, you're right. And let me tell you what it was. I remember there was this day that I had several meetings lined up. And during that day, there were 2 meetings that canceled. And I was like, yes.
I know that feeling.
It was like, hallelujah. And and my mom and my friend was like, I think you've said this a couple times now, that I think you should sit down and examine what's really happening. And I had to examine what was really happening, because if I felt it, I know that others can feel it,
Yes.
So yeah, that's pretty much my approach to it.
Oh, I mean, let's just think about it. When the babies were born and we were exhausted, we were actually at our worst. And that's probably why I got the suicidal depression and why I couldn't cope with the children, because I was in a foreign country. I didn't have my mom or friends there. I had no help. It was just me and the kids. And at the end of the day, as the mother, the more vibrant the mother is, the more the mother allows herself to receive support. One of the ladies said it so beautifully in my Unapologetic group a couple of weeks ago. She goes, the child gets raised by a village. And when our business is our child, why would we not allow the business to be raised by a village of trusted,
Ooh,
wise women, instead of us always trying to do it on our own? And
ooh,
that
that's good.
really,
That's
that was,
good.
I know, right? It
That
just
is
really
so good.
dropped in for me. And I was like, yes. One of the transformations of my business at the moment is I'm done doing it on my own. I'm like, no, I'm not a personal brand. I'm building a dynasty, and the dynasty involves a lot of people within it. I'm just the founder. I'm just the birth mother, but I am not the one that's going to raise this baby on my own. I'm not the one that's going to take this baby through life on my own. And this baby is going to live way beyond me. And it is about letting go of that idea that as independent women, we have to each build our little businesses in isolation and not allow ourselves to be supported in such a way that if I'm having a bad day, I can phone my girlfriends and go, I need to drop this ball. Can somebody pick it up for me? and be okay with it.
That's deep. That's a powerful insight.
Yeah, I do
Yes.
believe that women are ready to start being interdependent in business. And I do believe that's the next layer of business that needs to start being formed, because at the moment we're at the independent business layer, especially amongst women, which is great. But you know what, ladies, we're done proving ourselves. We can do this. Now, what happens when we bring our geniuses together? What do we create then interdependently?
That's good. That's really good.
What made you write the book?
Well, I was getting a lot of questions asked, and I wanted to put it in a tangible form that could reach more people than my one-on-one conversations. So when I was having a lot of people in my family ask me questions about my views on parenting. I'm very involved with my family members. Everyone knows that I am team family. So if you need guidance, support, help, I'm there. But my clients also had similar questions. And I wanted to put it in a tangible form to capture how I felt. I didn't want anybody to tell my own story because it's a different story. It doesn't go with the status quo. It doesn't go with the traditional way of how we view motherhood. I talk about the role of the egoful father in my book, and I dispel a lot of myths about the men in our lives that are leading from their ego, not because they want to, but because they don't know how. So how do we choose as intentional mothers to show up and navigate? We can still play with men that are leading with their ego. We don't have to run away. We don't have to hide. We don't have to bash them. We get to learn how to navigate those situations and circumstances. So I write about that in my book. I write about the practical, tangible approaches, like you just talked about, that powerful insight around seeing your business as your baby and having that village raise it. But then also on the flip side for the family, I had mentioned this phrasing around your family being a business. So we don't typically tend to see our family as mothers as a business. And when we can take some, of that masculine energy and put that into the operational side of the family, knowing that our kids and our partners have different communication languages. So in business, we change it up for our clients so we can change it up for our kids. In our family, we're going to have meetings where we're addressing conflict and operations. We do it in our business so we can do it in our family. So that whole ideology and idea of treating the family as a business, having the space to have meetings of encouragement and appreciation. There's an example I talk about where you have a meeting and the whole purpose of the meeting is for affirmation. You can't talk about the problems in this type of meeting that I am designing and teaching mothers to do. And it's twofold, because now you set yourself up and your children to practice experiencing appreciation instead of experiencing we're having a meeting because something's wrong. And then when they get older, they know what it's like to receive it, because a lot of the times I work with women who you give them a compliment and it's like, no, they got to shut it down. No, not me. Oh, this old thing. Or it becomes too overwhelming and they shut it down, or they cry, or they break out, because that amount of affection and appreciation hasn't been experienced. It hasn't been modeled. It hasn't been a consistent practice. But if we can take some of these thoughts and ideas of how we run our business and bring them over to our family, I think it'll just help us to have more effective connection at the end of the day.
Where do people get hold of the book?
You can get it on Amazon.com, so, or you can also get it on my website at MoniqueRussell.com.
Thank you so much. We could talk for hours and hours, and we selfishly did before we even got on the call. And I'm very aware of time always for the listeners. Where is the best place for people to connect with you, Monique?
Yes. So my websites are clearcommunicationsolutions.com as well as moniquerussell.com. But I always play on LinkedIn each week. So if you are on LinkedIn, connect with me, send me a message, let us know that you heard us on the show. Don't hit the follow button, hit the connect button and send me a message so that we can connect. I love connecting with people and building relationships.
Oh, I'm so with you on that. I always say to people, I'm not a sheepdog. Like, don't follow me. Like, I love coffee calls with people and having real human conversations. And I'm so in awe of humanity at the moment. I've met some of the most incredible people. And when we just take a little bit of time to get beyond the platform, beyond the picture on LinkedIn or the tagline, and just connect with the person's heart on the other side. This world is such an incredible place. We're so blessed to be alive at this time.
It really is.
What do you take an unapologetic stand for in the world?
My stand is, well, my mission is for women, for moms, so that they can, profit from their own wisdom. And I firmly believe in a woman, a mother, being able to do just that. So, especially in the area of entrepreneurship, I believe that that's an excellent space for a woman's creativity to flourish or to be nurtured or developed. Doesn't matter what it is you want to do. We are all creators. So I take a stand knowing that when a woman is able to experience all of the things that she truly desires and is capable of, her relationships go to exponential heights. And that's my stance.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Monique. I so appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your love, your character, and just your time. At the end of the day, that's the non-refundable resource that we get to invest every single day. And so I want to just say thank you so much for investing this time with us. And I know that every single woman who's listened to this is going to benefit greatly. And to every single woman who is listening to this, if you don't connect with Monique, what?
Seriously.
Why wouldn't you? Is all I'm going to say. Ladies, thank you for your time. Thank you for spending it with us today. And we look forward to the next episode to have another unapologetic conversation. And don't forget, we get to live our legacies. Unleashed, unlimited, and unafraid. Have an amazing day further. Cheers.